Okay, good morning. Welcome to this awesome session. The webinar organized by Afrinic, as well as in collaboration with Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. I'm delighted to be here to moderate this particular session, and I hope we all enjoy the session. I will just want to run through some quick information that I would like all of us to have. So first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome you to another Afrinic webinar series. Holding today, the 19th of October, 2023. This series of webinars offer our community an opportunity to engage in dialogue on the current and future landscape of internet accessibility and robustness in Africa. In this and subsequent webinars, we will see subject matter experts engage on various topics that stimulate the growth and development of the internet in Africa. So this webinar is in collaboration between IXPN, Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria, and Afrinic. And our aim is to have a knowledge pack session, which is focused on critical aspects of internet connectivity that is the driver of contemporary businesses. We look forward at the intricacies of assessing public IP number resources, including ASN, autonomous system numbers, IPv4, and IPv6 addresses directly from Afrinic, and explore the eligibility criteria for joining this esteemed internet exchange point here in Lagos, Nigeria, called Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So before we begin, I'd like you all, in case you have any session, any question, you can drop it on the chat. This will be an interactive session. And once again, my name is David Ezania. I'm a network engineer at Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria, and I'll be your moderator for this session. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining. So moving ahead, I would actually introduce some of our panelists on this session, okay? So with me here is James Chiwa. He is from Afrinic. We also have Uche Ugwani. James, you can unmute and say hello to everyone.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to this session.
Okay. Thank you, James. Thank you for joining. It's good to have you here. We're delighted to see you. And we hope you will share so much knowledge that is so impactful that everybody will be able to learn a whole lot of information before leaving the session. Also with me here, we have a senior manager for Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. His name is Uche Chukwu Ugwani. Uche, say hello and welcome.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this wonderful webinar. I hope you enjoy yourself and learn from this interaction, from this seminar. Thank you.
Okay, just to highlight, Uche is our expert, the brain behind everything we do on the network. He is so phenomenal. He's on a class of his own. Very detailed individual, very knowledgeable, very vast, very well-read, very super intelligent. And it's so good to have him here. Also moving on, we have Raphael Iloka. Raphael is the Executive Managing and Marketing Executive for Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. Raphael, it's good to have you. Welcome on board.
Hello everyone. Good day, good morning, wherever you're joining us from. And I'm hoping that today we'll have a very wonderful session. Thank you for welcoming me, David. I appreciate that.
Okay, so Raphael is our points man. In case you want to join Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria, he's the go-to person. So just hit him up. He will drop his contact with you all as the session proceeds. Also with us here, we have Wayne Gurand. Wayne, can you say hello? Hello, Wayne is from Afrinic. Okay, just so we don't have, we also have Emmanuel Oluwayemisi. Emmanuel is from Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. Hello, Emmanuel.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session. We hope to have an interactive webinar. Thank you.
Okay, so Emmanuel also is an IT expert, very, very good professional when it comes to networking, IT networking and integration and commissioning. He will be guiding us on so many topics today, including PeeringDB. Welcome, Emmanuel, and it's good to have you here. So delighted to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also here we have Susan Osino. Hello, Suzanne. Can you say hello to everyone? Hello, Suzanne.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, just say hello to everyone. The participants are listening.
Yeah. Good afternoon, good morning from wherever you're joining us from. We hope that you will have a great webinar. And then over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne is from Afrinic. She is an expert in the industry, so she will be taking us also on some of the conversations that are directed to Afrinic. And we also have Ashil. Ashil, say hello, please.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Okay, welcome, Ashil. Thank you so much for joining us. So to kickstart this seminar, without further ado, we will be talking on the topic, the definitive guide to accessing Afrinic resources. The definite guide to accessing Afrinic resources, ASN and IP blocks. Having said that, let's just dive into the conversation. So feel free to ask questions. I'll be noting down any question that comes on the chat, and we will answer your questions immediately after the presentation of each panelist. Thank you, everyone, and have an enjoyable time with us. So to introduce the first speaker that will be taking us on this particular webinar, I'd like to call upon Uche Chukwu Ugwuanyi from Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria to give us an introduction. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, good morning, everybody, depending on where you're listening to us from. Welcome again to this webinar, and I'll be starting this conversation with a look at the benefits of connecting to an internet exchange point in general, and then what you stand to benefit from connecting to IXP in particular. So I have a slide that I'll be presenting that I'm going to start with. Sorry, I'm trying to share screen. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I hope everyone can see. If you can't, please just let us know at any given point. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we are going to spend a bit of some time looking at what an IXP really is. And we are going to look at how routing at an exchange point works. And then we'll look at the benefits of connecting to IXP and what the technical requirements would be. So let's start. Let's imagine a hypothetical geographical location with a single ISP. So this ISP provides internet in that particular community they have one or two international connection, maybe via cable or VSAT. This works, and there's no complication in this hypothetical region. But then, as we can all imagine, the forces of demand and supply would necessitate that there would be another another ISP that will come up in that region. So you have a second ISP now in the mix. So they are both competitors. They still maintain a link or two to other foreign tier 1 or tier 2 ISPs that would provide internet for them and their clients. So again, this works, but then we'll have a scenario where there needs to be a traffic flow between these two networks, right? Initially, they are going to go over the internet, go over the submarine cable or VSAT to be able to exchange traffic between them. Now, this is not minding the fact that these two networks might just be a few kilometers away from each other. If there needs to be a traffic flow from any customer A to customer B in those two networks, the route, it will take the international route and then still come back to the same geographical location. So generally, as we can imagine now, the people who run businesses, specifically the ISP business, they are very smart people. They are not, they are in the business to make money and with as little overhead as possible. So in a very short time, they are going to realize that this setup is not sustainable. And then they will be forced to set up some sort of connection between themselves so that they don't have to, the traffic exchange between the two networks, between the two ISP operators, does not go to the internet. So this works where they set up a physical connection between them, and is sustainable once you have just two ISPs. But over time, the number of ISPs is going to grow. It's going to grow from 1 to 3 to 5 to 10, 15, 20, 25 in some cases. So what happens then? Having a physical connection between each of the ISPs in that region would very quickly become not feasible, because if you have, for n number of ISP operators, you're going to need n-1 connections. So if you have 20 operators in a region, for you to have connectivity to all of them, you would have to establish 19 different physical connections. So this is not scalable at all. So this is the problem that an internet exchange point is set up to address, where you don't have to set up a physical connection between all the networks in any particular region. If there needs to be a traffic exchange between the networks in any particular region, they need to find a neutral point, a neutral hub where they can exchange such traffic. So this is what an exchange point does in a very nutshell. This is the primary responsibility or primary function of an ISP in any region. The primary which is to localize internet traffic, interconnect all the networks in that location with just one peering. So this is very important. You don't need to set up the different connections to each member of the exchange points. One physical connection, one BGP session, and just like that, you are connected to almost you're connected to all the participating members of that exchange point. So academically, an exchange point is a physical hub, a physical neutral place where networks in a particular region, autonomous networks in a particular region, interconnect to exchange internet traffic. So before we delve into maybe the benefits of connecting to an IXPN, we need to look at the architecture of an IXP, that's an internet exchange point, just in a bit more detail, so that we'll be able to better appreciate how the operation works and how some of the benefits that we are going to discuss is actually achieved. So a typical IXP network, a typical internet exchange point network can be summarized with this diagram. So you have a switch, and each of the participating members connect using a router. So you can, as you can see, you just have one physical connection to the exchange point, but then because you are connected to the same switch as the other participating members of that exchange point, you are essentially directly connected to them for all intents and purposes. You are on the same VLAN, you're on the same layer 3 subnets, you're in the same broadcast domain. So for all intents and purposes, this is a direct connection. This is as good as having a connection between a physical connection or some cable connection between all of the members. Just this time around, it is facilitated by a switch. So you just have this, and then you have a route server for BGP prefix adverts, and that's what you have. So going further, when the members have all connected and BGP has converged, you'd have what you have on the diagram. So each of the participating networks will advertise their prefixes to the route server. Now, the route server will in turn advertise those prefixes back to all the other members of the exchange point, except the network that you advertise to it. So let's take ISP1 and ISP2 in this diagram, for example. ISP1 will learn about the prefixes of ISP2 and ISP3 from the route server. ISP2 will learn about the prefixes of ISP1 and ISP3 from the route server. And then the next hop, this is a very important distinction. The next hop is not the route server. The next hop is like I said earlier, because you're on the same layer 3 subnet, the same broadcast domain, the next hop can be set up as the router of the owner of that particular subnet. So in the case of ISP1, when it learns the prefixes of ISP2, for example, the next hop for those prefixes will be ISP2's router. So this is a very important distinction to keep in mind. Now, this is what happens at an exchange point. What this means is that routing decisions are not made by the exchange. The decision to route traffic is made by the participating routers. So in this particular diagram, for example, if you have layer traffic ISP2 needing to exchange traffic with ISP3, that traffic doesn't go to the route server, because the next hop, as advertised by BGP, is ISP3's router or the peer IP of ISP3. So when there needs to be a traffic exchange between ISP2 and ISP3, the traffic would go directly from ISP2 to ISP3. And that is it in a very, very simple scenario. It doesn't really get more complicated than that. In a single, whenever there needs to be a traffic flow as shown in this particular diagram, you would have the traffic go directly between the members. The IXPN route server or the IXP route server in this case does not doesn't make any routing decision for members. So what this means is that participating members need to fully advertise their prefixes to the exchange point, and then they also need to learn all the prefixes advertised at the exchange points. Once BGP has converged like this, what you would have is traffic exchange would flow directly between each of the member networks. So what are some of the benefits of connecting to IXPN? In particular, this time around, at IXPN, there are over 114 connected networks. The average peak traffic is in excess of 520 gig per second. There are 10 points of presence currently in Nigeria. There in Lagos, for those of us who are familiar with Lagos, Nigeria, there is Interconnect Clearinghouse. There is Medallion Data Center, Rack Center, MDXI, Cloud Exchange, and ADC. There are also points of presence in Abuja, Port Harcourt, Kanu, and Enugu, and more are still coming up. Before the end of the year, this number would likely have increased by 1 or 2 or even 3 more points of presence. So you have access to all the major CDNs that are also members of the exchange point. So you have access to all of the likes of Google and Facebook, and so Facebook by extension, WhatsApp and Instagram, Amazon, Microsoft, Netflix, and so on and so forth. You also have access to the root DNS servers. There are instances of all the popular DNS cache servers like the Quad 8, the Quad 1, the Quad 9. So this is a brief summary of the state of IXP and operation at the moment. So what are some of the benefits of peering? So you have a shorter path. As we saw a couple of slides ago, if you connect to an exchange point, if you connect to IXPN, for example, you are in Lagos, for example, you are directly connected to all the other participating networks. What that means is traffic that needs to flow between your network and those member networks would flow at wire speeds. The latency between each of the participating networks router is less than 1 millisecond. So you have a shorter path. You don't have to cross several hubs, several overseas hubs, or even several regional hubs to get to content. As a result, you would, of course, have a faster response time, right? Just like I said earlier, the latency between each of the peering members in Lagos, for example, is less than 1 millisecond. So most times when we talk about this reduced latency, it all sounds very theoretical. So shortly before this session, I actually carried out a test, and I can share some of the one or two of the results. So look at this, for example. This is a ping to some of the popular DNS cache servers. So for example, the Quad 1 is owned by Cloudflare, who's also a member of the exchange points. And we can see the response time is less than 1 millisecond, as you can see in the highlighted portion. The same thing applies to a ping to the Quad 8, which is the Google's DNS cache servers. The response time again is less than 1 millisecond. The same thing with the Quad 9, the DNS server managed by Packet Clearing House. Again, we can see that the response time is less than 1 millisecond. So this is not some theoretical point that we make. This is something that there is an evidence for. So what are the other benefits of connecting? There is also improved cost savings. So as we saw at the beginning of the slides, if without an exchange point, traffic flow would have to go through an overseas route and then come back to the same particular region, which means you end up paying some tier 1, tier 2 ISP and along the path, which means that the cost of operation for a typical ISP would be very high. Sorry, excuse me. Cost of operation for a typical ISP would be very high, and that cost would invariably be passed to end users. So you have immense cost savings by connecting to the exchange point. The other one is increased global reach. As I said, there are like 114 connected networks. Some of them are international players. So by just pairing at exchange points, your network is no longer limited to just the content in Nigeria. You also have a very vast global reach. We have networks pairing from different parts of the globe, from different continents at the exchange points. You also have a direct access because you're all on the same layer 2 network. You're directly connected to these networks, and you don't have to cross multiple hubs to get to them. Then there's also the matter of fault tolerance. So if for example, a typical ISP's connection to each upstream, something impacts it, something happens to it, and it goes down, your network is not completely cut off from the internet. You're still connected to the exchange points. And at the exchange point, the feedback we've gotten so far is that up to 60 to 65% of the traffic from a typical ISP network actually flows through the exchange point. So if there is ever any submarine cable cuts, there's anything impacting your connection to your upstream provider, you are not completely cut off from the internet. And this number we are getting, that's 60 to 65% of your traffic flowing through the exchange points, is going to keep increasing, because every time, every month, we are at any particular point in time, we're in discussions with other content providers, other content delivery networks to join the exchange point. So I cannot speak specifically to anyone, but we are in final stages of tidying up our agreement to some of these other content delivery networks to join the exchange point. So when that happens, you're going to even have more traffic going through the exchange point. That number could go as high as 70-75%. So if you have a connection to the exchange point whereby 70 to 70%, 75% of your traffic is going through the exchange point, anything happening to your transit provider will not completely destroy or completely cut you off from the internet. So this improves resilience. So your network is a bit more resilient because you don't just have a connection to your upstream provider. So there's also compliance with some regional regulations. I think in some countries, it's now become a regulation that banking applications should not be hosted, for example, outside the country. So connecting to an exchange point would help you meet those regulations if you're in Nigeria. It also ensures that local traffic stays local. You don't have the possibility of your traffic being sniffed by some foreign characters. You don't have the possibility of your traffic being hijacked. You're not exposing all of your network traffic to maybe DDoS. So this is one of the another benefit, a very important benefit of connecting to IXPN. So what does it really take? What are the technical requirements for connecting to IXPN? From the technical point of view, you need a unique, a public autonomous system number, which James, one of our panelists, would delve into in more detail. You also need at least a /24 public IP address block, a router that speaks BGP, and a physical connection to one of our points of presence anywhere in the country. So my colleague Raphael will delve into the financial and the documentations that needs to happen for any network to join the exchange point. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Questions and comments and suggestions are welcomed at this stage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Uchechukwu Ugwuanyi. Thank you for that elaborate session, taking us through what an IXP is, how an ISP works, what are the requirements, what we have to be eligible to join an exchange point. And from Uche's slide, we can see that IXPN recently celebrated peak traffic of over 500 gigabits per second. And that tells you that the exchange point is growing tremendously. We've had support from all the networks and all the members that have joined us, because IXPN is actually a carrier-neutral internet exchange point. Having said that, we intend to grow the traffic for 2024 to over 1 terabyte. So watch out for IXPN. It's one of the biggest, and if not the biggest, exchange points in the whole of West Africa sub-region. Thank you, Uchechukwu, for that. So any questions, please drop it on the comment. We will read out your questions to everyone and then assign it to one of the panelists to answer. I'm expecting questions from everyone who is an attendee on this webinar. Thank you. Okay, we have one question from Ayodele Ajibola. He says, do you have capacity to take all networks on your switch? That's his question. Do you have capacity to take all networks on your switch?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Ayodele, for that question. Yes, we have capacity to accommodate all traffic thrown at any particular switch, any particular point of presence. And being a network and being network focused on delivering very good performance for all participating networks, we are all constantly also improving on the network. But right now, we have never had a situation where maybe the traffic in any region or in any point of presence is more than what the switch can handle. At our point of presence where we have the highest number of traffic, we are not even using up to 50% of the backplane capacity of the switch in that particular location. So yes, we are equipped to handle all the traffic that your network can throw at us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that elaborate answer. Thank you, Uche. We have other questions coming in. So I'll read out some of them. Adia is asking, where is the IXP switch located? Where is the IXP switch located?
Okay, so we have several points of presence. So we have several points of presence. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so in Lagos, Nigeria, we have a point of presence in Interconnect Clearinghouse, Medallion Data Center, Rack Center Data Center, MDXI, Cloud Exchange, and ADC. So that's for Lagos, Nigeria. And these, maybe I forgot to mention this, these points of presence in Lagos are interconnected by unlimited dark fibers between those locations. So the latency between each of those locations in Lagos, again, is less than 1 millisecond. I hope that answers your question, Adia.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Adia, for that question. And then moving on, PeeringDB Chizukwa is asking how much current capacity is available, please, not future numbers. What capacity do we have currently?
So that question is not super clear. What capacity do we have in a POP or on the links? Okay, so what I can say is we have never had a case of any request for connectivity that we can meet. In our busiest points of presence, we are not using up to 40% of the available switch capacity. That's okay. In our busiest point of presence. In other points of presence, we are using around 10 to 15 of the backlink capacity of each of the switches. And then as for the links interconnecting these points of presence, again, there are dark fibers that we can upgrade at the snap of a finger if the need arises. So we are limited by just the devices at both ends of the link. I hope that addresses the question.
Okay. Yes, that is perfectly stated. Someone is asking, Emily, whether we will share the presentation. Yes, we can share the presentation subsequently after the webinar. So just look out for it, okay? And then to take one more question, question is, have you ever encountered cybersecurity problems on your IXP? If yes, please share.
Okay, well, what we have encountered cannot really be called a cybersecurity problem in the strictest sense of that word. So one of the issues that we've had, just briefly, is so a member connects to the exchange point and learns the prefixes of the exchange point. Best practice, you're not supposed to advertise those prefixes to your transit provider, because you would unknowingly become a transit for some of the peering networks. So we've had one or two instances of route leak to the internet, but those are very quickly caught and addressed before it even becomes a problem. We've not really encountered a full-blown cybersecurity incident in the conventional sense of that word.
Okay. And one more question from Ivory Coast is from Ibrahima Kauyate. He says, what could be the real benefits of operators in Ivory Coast? How can they benefit by joining Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria? That's his question.
Okay, so thank you very much. That's actually a very, very important question. So we have operators in other countries actually joining the exchange point in Nigeria for numerous reasons. One of them is, or let me give an example of some of the networks that are operates in other countries that have joined the exchange point. There is Dolphin Telecoms in Ghana. There is Angola Cable in Angola. What a presence at the exchange point does for them is it also helps them extend their reach. So if you're looking to, Nigeria is a very big country, very populous country that is probably underserved. So if you're looking to break into the Nigerian space and maybe run the ISP business, a connection to the exchange point is obviously one of the first steps that you'd have to take, because all the major players in Nigeria, all the major telecom players in Nigeria are already connected. So a single connection to the exchange point will guarantee that you would be able to reach all the other networks that operate in the same country as Nigeria. I hope that addresses your question.
Yeah, and to add on top of it, we have the likes of MTN. MTN Nigeria is the biggest MTN subsidiary in the whole of Africa, and probably in the whole world, with over close to 90 million active mobile subscribers. So Ibrahima, come join IXPN. It will be beneficial to your mobile operator over there in Ivory Coast. And to answer one more question, we have Chimdi asking what CDNs are connected today. We have the likes of Amazon, Facebook, we have Netflix, we have Google, and the likes. So we have a lot of content delivery already at IXPN. And then to take one more from Togo, this is from Emmanuel from Togo. He says, if you look at your traffic profile, you can see bulk of our traffic is coming from outside our region, because most of our businesses are hosting their services in the cloud outside our region. What plans does IXPN have in place to encourage our business to host locally for us to derive the full benefits of our exchanges?
Okay, so this is what. Thank you very, very much for that question. This is a recurring question that we get at events like this, and an event like this is actually one of the things that we are doing to encourage local hosting and localization of internet traffic. So what we want, one of the things that we hope to achieve by organizing webinars and sessions like this is exposures and conversations that would then maybe help people who are not very familiar with the operation of the exchange point become very familiar with it and see the benefits, and then probably make decisions to connect and maybe bring some of their contents locally. The other thing too is IXPN is just an entity. We don't have, we can't make policy for a region, right? So we are always willing to collaborate with any organization who can, as in we are willing to partner and ensure that this message is, because that's the only thing we can actually do. We can just preach the message, but we also encourage local players by giving concessions, giving discounts for maybe upcoming hosting companies or upcoming internet service providers to join the exchange points. Very soon, maybe before the end of the year, we'll come out with actually a well-documented package for such up and comers, so that all of this is geared towards ensuring that local traffic stays local, and then there is no barrier to entry. If maybe finance is a concern of yours, and because you're a small ISP, because you're just starting out, you don't have a lot of finance or a lot of money to pay for the full service, we are willing to have a conversation with you, find out what you need and how we can help you grow. So thank you very much for that question.
Okay, thank you so much. Keep your questions coming. In case you need any clarification, please also reach out to us through chat. So I have another question from Abdul Karim Sisiko. He's asking how to increase the ISP traffic throughput. How do we invite other members and partners to be connected to the ISP? That's his first question. The second one is how to convince CDNs to be connected to the ISP. So he's trying to figure out how ISPN did it. I guess that's the question.
Okay, well, our plan for increasing traffic is, as always, we are always in conversations with CDNs who are not currently connected to connect, so that local traffic internet traffic would be as local as possible. We are always willing to partner with CDNs. We are always willing to bring in local caches. Before the end of the year, there will be announcements regarding connection of new CDNs, the connection of local caches for the main point of presence in Lagos, and even for remote locations too. Those ones are not left out. So we are committed to ensuring that local traffic stays local, right? Internet traffic stays as local as possible. So we are partnering with CDNs, we are in conversations with CDNs, and some of them will join in no distance time. What was the second question? Sorry, David.
Okay, the second one is how to convince other ISPs, other CDN networks to join an ISP.
Okay, so the how is via disengagement. So in this call, we have a lot of potential members of the exchange points, maybe small service providers who do not even have their own ASNs. So these engagements like these, conversations like this, is where they would learn the benefit of peering at the exchange points. And then again, they will learn from the Afrinic experts how they can go about accessing and acquiring the required resource needed to pair with IXPN. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Chechuku. That will be all the questions we'll take for this session. So we have to move ahead and invite the second panelist to come up and speak. So the second person is Raphael Iloka. Raphael is the executive marketing manager for ISPN. So Raphael, welcome on board. You have the floor. I yield the mic.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just say in summary, good day, everyone, depending on where you are joining us from today. I want to first and foremost say a very big thank you to each and every one of you for making out time in your busy schedule to be a participant of this beneficial webinar session we're having this day. I also want to thank my colleague Uchechukwu Gwanyi for giving us a very elaborate explanation on the benefits of pairing at the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. But undoubtedly, we all agree that for you to be able to take advantage of all these benefits he has mentioned, you first have to become a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So today, I'll be taking us briefly on how to actually become a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So on our table of contents this morning, we are going to run through a very brief introduction. Then we will talk about the categories of members who are eligible or qualified to become members of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. Then after that, we'll talk on the membership requirements. That is basically what you need or what is required for one to become a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. Then we'll run down to the fees and charges involved in achieving this membership. And then we'll conclude after that discussion. So at least I believe that we can all agree that for organizations to be able to enhance network connectivity and optimize internet service, joining an internet exchange point is very essential and vital. From the explanation from the previous presentation, that has well been explained why it is vital to join an internet exchange point to enhance your network connectivity and optimize internet services. So, but however, the process of becoming a member of an IXP generally can be, if I would say, complex, generally can come with so much complexities. So, and this is commonly because of the technical, administrative, operational, and legal intricacies involved in the process of becoming a member of an exchange point. But we being the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria and we understanding this issue or this barrier, we have been able to simplify and demystify the membership onboarding journey, so that whoever is interested in becoming a member of the exchange point, no matter where you are coming from or joining from, you can have a very seamless experience. So this presentation is primarily designed to remove all the complexities, all the barriers from the membership onboarding journey, making it more accessible and even more efficient to connect to the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So first and foremost, we're going to start with the categories of members. So this is about who do you have to be for you to be able or for you to be qualified to even reach out to an Internet Exchange Point or to the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria and seek membership. So first on the list is are the internet service providers. So your organization being an ISP automatically qualifies you and makes you eligible to become a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. Then also we have the content providers. Those are the content distribution networks. And if you fall into that category, you are also very qualified to be a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. Then we have the telcos, that's the telecommunication companies. We have the financial institutions, those are the fintechs, the banks. They are all qualified to be a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. Also, we have the higher educational institution, the universities, the polytechnics, whichever category your organization falls into. You can become a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. Then the government parastatals, the mobile network operators. Currently in Nigeria, the four major mobile network operators, which is MTN, Airtel, Glo, and 9Mobile, are all members of the exchange point. This is to show you how beneficial the Internet Exchange Point is. Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria is, because if organizations this big can seek or want or become a member of the organization, then you should understand that there is something beneficial about being a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. Then finally, we also have the mobile visual network operators. If your organization also falls into this category, then you are also very qualified to be a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So we'll quickly dive into the membership requirements. So what is required for an organization to want or to become a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria? Based on how the effort we have put into simplifying this, the requirements are just categorized, are just put into two different categories, which is the technical requirements, which my colleague Uche spoke a little bit about, and also the administrative requirements. So when speaking about on the technical requirements, you need to first have a unique autonomous system number, ASN, and IP address blocks. With this being the first, I think some of us can finally understand why we are having this webinar, because the webinar is primarily a guide to being able to seamlessly acquire the autonomous system number. So this being first has shown you that without having a unique autonomous system number, it won't be possible for you as an organization, even if you fall into the categories we are just previously mentioned, without the number, you won't be able to become a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So secondly, you also need to have a BGP capable router. Like my colleague said, he said it's a router that speaks BGP, I think, and the BGP is a language. The technical people always find a way to make things sound very good. So you need to have a router that speaks the language of BGP. That is also a very vital necessity of becoming a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So with these two things in your possession, we will now have to move into the administrative part of it. But still on the technical aspect, you have to also establish a physical connection to an IXP node at your preferred data center. But this will be done after we have gone through the administrative requirements, which is the next slide we'll be discussing. So if you read this statement very well, it says establish a physical connection to the IXP node at your preferred data center. So this means that you as an organization or a prospective member coming to the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria, you have the liberty of deciding which data center you want to connect to. We have, like it was shown in the previous presentation, we have our presence in 10 different data centers in Lagos alone. Then in Abuja, we are also in Abuja, we are in Enugu, we are in Port Harcourt, and we are also hoping to establish our presence in other regions and parts of Nigeria. The aim is to finally be able to have IXPN present in the 36 states we have in Nigeria as a country. And hopefully in the next couple of years that will be achieved, and that would make it possible for us to serve all our prospective members and existing members more efficiently. So with this, you have to finally set up BGP pairing, and with the BGP pairing being set up, the next thing is to exchange traffic. But before the last two, we have to first look at the administrative requirements, because yes, you have an ASN, you have a BGP capable router, but you just don't connect. You have to fulfill these administrative requirements, and upon the fulfillment of these administrative requirements, we can now finalize your setup and you become a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So on the administrative requirements, you have to fill out the IXPN application form. Why do you have to fill out the application form? In summary, the application form tells us who you are. It's just a form of an introduction. We get to know more about you, more about your organization from what you have filled in the IXPN application form. Then after filling up the application form, you have to fill the connection form. So one will ask, why fill the application and then the connection form? The application form tells us who you are, but the connection form tells us what you want, because these are two different aspects. We now know who you are through the application form, but we also need to understand what you want and how we can serve you and serve you better. So that is gotten from the information you fill out in the IXPN connection form. So with these two forms being filled and submitted and verified to be okay, the next step is to sign the IXPN Memorandum of Understanding. Just for the legal purposes and to solidify the partnership and relationship, it is necessary that you sign the IXPN Memorandum of Understanding, which is a very, very easy to understand MOU. I've come across MOUs that are very complicated, I have to say, but we at IXPN have been possible to simplify the IXPN Memorandum of Understanding, that no matter where you're coming from or the mindset you have, you should be able to understand the IXPN MOU. So with these three documents signed and filled out, we move to you having to pay the required fees and charges. Yes, there are some required very affordable fees and charges that needs to be paid for one to finally become a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So this is a visible explanation of the fees and charges. you can see the services, the payment schedule, and the price. The price is divided, categorized in the Naira currency, that's the currency used in Nigeria as a country, and the USD currency, which is a more generally accepted currency. So depending on where you are, this will give you an idea of which of the price tags you should focus on. If you're in Nigeria, then definitely you should focus on the Nigerian currency. But if you're outside the borders of Nigeria, then the USD would be the most appropriate mode of payment for you. So for the joining fee is a one-off payment. You have to pay a sum of 250,000 in the Naira currency to join the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria, and that amount converted to the USD is $611. So you also have to pay the membership fee, which is paid quarterly, and the cost of that is 65,000 Naira, which is converted as $159 to the USD. So I know one would ask, why pay the joining fee and also pay the membership fee? That is very simple. The Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria is a member-based organization. What does this mean? Being a member-based organization means that you, as a member of IXPN, you have the liberty to contribute to the activities of the exchange point as an organization. You have the ability to vote and decide who becomes members of the board. You have the ability to make your opinions known to the board, and you have the ability to influence change in the services being offered by the exchange point. So this is why you have to pay a membership fee to become a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. And that is why we call our customers members and not just customers, because for some IXPs, it's just like a customer-based relationship. But for IXPN, it's more of a family-like relationship, because we hear you out. We are always open to hearing your opinions, and we are always open to influencing that opinion in our decision-making, because you are a member and your opinion definitely matters to us. So that being said, we are going into the different port sizes we have and the cost of the different port sizes. We have the 10 Mbps, which on a monthly basis costs 20,000 Naira, and in dollar equivalent is $49. Although this particular port size, hopefully we are looking into, phase it off based on the fact that even the smallest ISPs, for example, who are trying to come on board the exchange point, have their traffic above 10 Mbps already. So we don't see it as a port capacity that is so necessary or important any longer. So, but for the moment, it's still available, but hopefully in the future, it might not really still be available. So also we have the 100 Mbps port. On a monthly basis, it costs 50,000 Naira and $122 in the USD. We have the 1 gig port, monthly 150,000 Naira, 367 USD. We also have the 10 gig port that costs 500,000 on a monthly basis, which converted to the USD is on $1,223. We have the 40 gig port, which on a monthly basis cost 1 million Naira, which directly converts to $2,445. And finally, we have our biggest port at the moment, which is the 100 gig port, and it costs 2 million Naira on a monthly basis. And if you're paying in dollars, you have to be paying $4,890 on a monthly basis. So these are the different port capacities and their cost, and the different services that we offer, and the payment cost, and then this payment schedule. So moving forward from that, we are still continuing on the fees and charges. So it is very important to note that the joining fee is paid one-off by all members, like I previously explained. So also, for ease of payments, the port fee is invoiced biannually. Yes, the port fee is, the payment schedule is monthly, but we understand how difficult it can be or complicated it can be for organizations to process payment. So we can't expect you to be doing that on a monthly basis. So for that reason, the port fee is invoiced biannually, which means you have to pay for the first 6 months and the second 6 months of a year. That's the biannual nature of it. So also, your first invoice will include the joining fee, membership fee pro rata, and the port fee pro rata. This means that your first invoice will include the joining fee, membership fee, and port fee in equal and appropriate proportion. That's the pro rata meaning in that statement. So finally, on the fees and charges, it is very vital and important to note that in our efforts to keep enhancing the Nigerian internet ecosystem and in fact the global internet ecosystem, and in our effort to keep making sure that the local traffic is kept local, it is very important that you know that we are open to discussing discounts and waivers. My colleague said that, but he probably didn't focus more on how possible that is. We are actually very into discussing discounts and waivers because we understand that most of the ISPs coming up now in the African region, for example, are still upcoming ISPs. And sometimes the payment of some fees and charges can be a barrier for them and all. So because of that, we are always offering discounts, waivers. If you have any contact of any member we have and you can reach out to them, I'm sure that person will let you know that, okay, there was probably a discount or a waiver offered. But that depends on the size of your organization because we know that the big guys can pay the fees. So if you fall into the big guys category, then maybe that this particular option is not for you. So concluding on all we have said today, we all agree that the ability to streamline the process of becoming an internet exchange point member is of paramount importance. It is necessary for you to be able to, expand your reach, make your network services better for your end users. It is very vital that you come on board the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So with this seamless process of becoming a member made available by IXPN, we believe that this journey, which may once have appeared complex and difficult and confusing for many, can now be navigated with clarity and efficiency, all thanks to IXPN for that. So by understanding these technical, administrative, operational, and legal aspects, prospective and even our existing members alike have the ability to harness the full potential of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. And believe me, there are so many benefits. I probably don't think the Bituche had the time or the opportunity to list out all the different benefits, but believe me, beyond his elaborate explanation, there are still more benefits of becoming a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So the world continues to be digitalized. There's no doubt. Everything is getting digitalized at the moment. 5G, 6G coming up, and also for business prosperity, organizations who fall into the category I mentioned earlier should look at coming on board the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria and becoming a member, because that would definitely enhance your performance in the industry. So we believe and trust that this guide will serve as a valuable resource, aiding each and every one of us who is interested in becoming a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria to be one, and also most importantly, to be able to solidify your position as an integral part of the global internet fabric. The internet space globally is becoming a very competitive and beneficial one. So it is very good that if you really want to play in the internet industry, you have to find a way to solidify your position. And one of those very vital ways of achieving that is by becoming a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So we hope that your journey will be marked by seamless connectivity, innovations, and very, very beneficial collaboration within the IXPN community. The IXPN is a community, we are a family, and we are hoping to have each and every one of you who is already not a member to very soon and in very near future become a member of the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So this brings my presentation to an end. Thank you everyone for listening. I am open to your questions, your comments, your suggestions. And if you wish to get know more or get more information about IXPN, our website is www.ixp.net.ng. You can easily look that up and get very more information that you may need. And my email address r.eloka@ixp.net.ng is also there. I am the marketing executive of the organization. So if you have any questions regarding becoming a member of the Exchange Point, feel free to reach out to me at any moment, any time of the day, and I will swiftly respond to your question and to your whatever you might need from us. Thank you very much again. I appreciate you listening, And I hope that we continue to have a wonderful session today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Raphael. Thank you so much for that insightful presentation. It was in-depth and so concise. If there's any question for Raphael relating to how you want to join IXPN or membership fees, or maybe you want a one-on-one conversation, Raphael is available. He can drop his phone number with you personally so that you can reach out to him and give him a call, or better still, send him an email. Thank you so much. We await questions. Okay, I see a question from Ima. He's asking if our connection is both Ethernet or optic fiber connection. We support both, however, we will prefer fiber. Fiber connection is more preferable and easy to troubleshoot. Thank you for that question. And then Ayodele is asking, Uche, I think this is for you. He said, you said one needs at least /24 prefix. Could you explain what you mean at least?
Okay. So what I mean is the least or the highest number, the highest prefix length allowed on the internet and by extension the exchange point is a /24. /25, 26, and so on and so forth is not allowed, so that the internet routing table would not get out of hand. I don't know if Ayodele, maybe I don't know if you need more clarification regarding what an IP address is, but the questions you asked earlier seem to suggest that you already know what I'm talking about. So you need a public IP address, at least a /24. I don't know how else to make this simpler, but I don't know. Ayodele can unmute himself and maybe we can he can ask this, maybe get more clarifications. Hello, Ayodele. I don't know if you're there. Can you unmute and ask us this question? Maybe let's see what. Let me see if I understand what you're asking for. It looks like, are we disconnected from the webinar? Because I think it's just the IXPN and the Afrinic team that are here now.
No, I can see everyone. We have 209 participants, so people are still on the call. Okay, so let's just move on. Ayodele, you can clarify. What Uche is saying is that you need a subnet max of /24, right? That's the minimum requirement. So that takes care of it. And then we have two questions for you, Uche. An ISP in Imo, Owerri, and another one in Umuahia, right? They are asking how do they connect to our point of presence and which one is closer to those two locations.
Yeah, David, I think Ayodele wants to clarify himself. So please, can we give him the audience, please?
Okay. Ayodele, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. What I'm asking is, as an ISP already connected to a transit provider, let's say Airtel or Glo, they give us a /29 IP.
Okay.
Can we use this to the connection, or we still have to go and get /24 from Afrinic?
Yes, so you need your own. So that's why you're also getting an autonomous system number. You need once you're multi-homing, that's once you have a connection to your transit provider and IXPN, for example, you're multi-homing. So you need your own autonomy on the internet. That's why you will now connect with your own resources. You need your own autonomous ASN, and then you need an IP address block assigned to you by Afrinic. So if for example, it was possible for you to pair with Airtel's.
Does it come from Afrinic?
Yes, it does.
Wow, okay.
Yes, it has to come from
Afrinic IP address, they are very expensive considering the cost of the Naira right now.
Yeah, okay, so maybe when James comes with his own slides and presentations, we can delve more into Afrinic resources and what is possible and what's not possible.
All right, thank you. I'll wait till then.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I will just take 2 more questions. I'll read it out. Uche will answer, and then we'll move into the next session. So, Uche, we have one of the participants asking that he has an ISP in Imo State and in Abia State, Umahia to be precise. And they're asking how can they connect to IXPN and which of our point of presence is closer for them to connect.
Okay, so right now, as we speak, the closest points of presence to Imo and Abia is Port Harcourt. But we are in the final stages of bringing up our Enugu, reactivating our Enugu point of presence, and also bringing up a point of presence in Delta too. So it's quite possible that when those points of presence come up, Enugu might be closer to Abia than it depends on the part of Abia anyways. Enugu might be closer to that part of Abia than Port Harcourt. You may just need to find out which one, maybe draw the map and look at the coordinates and then figure it out yourself. As for how you backhaul the traffic, there are service providers who specialize in delivering that kind of service. So they will give you a clear layer 2 channel between Port Harcourt in this particular case now, or in this instance, Port Harcourt and Owerri and Port Harcourt and Abia. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, and then the last question we'll take is George from YLC is asking what technology is used to link the peering LAN between various data centers in Lagos. Is this spanning tree, VPLS, and VXLAN?
So it's just plain layer 2 trunk.
Okay, that answers it all. Thank you very much. So moving ahead, we will be bringing up the next presenter for our webinar session. And we are still in the topic of the definitive guide to assessing Afrinic resources, ASN and IP block. And our next presenter is James from Afrinic. Welcome, James. You have the floor.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Uche and Raphael also. Once again, welcome everyone. My name is James and I'm with Afrinic as Head of Member Services. I'm happy to have you here today, mostly to look at things that I always hear most of the times. I think one of the person has already said something about the cost, but also sometimes people talk about the complexity of the process. But I believe that knowledge is power, and if people know what is required or what are the A and B's that are needed for a certain particular process, things will always go seamlessly. So in today's presentation, the goal here is to try to break some of those walls or barriers that people feel like they block the process to go seamlessly, because if you know where to go, where to start, I think it makes it easier in processing, in applying for the resources with Afrinic. So, so let's dig in, and some of the things I'll skip through because my colleagues have tackled some of these before in the 2 sessions that were the 2 presentations that we've just had. So today I will just be looking at a brief introduction to Afrinic and also the some statistics. We'll try to answer the question why public IP resources are required. I think both Uche and Raphael spoke about it partly for why you need public IP addresses to connect to the IXP, but we'll look at it as well in general. I'll walk you through a simple Afrinic membership process. What are the requirements? And then we'll touch a bit on the fee structure so you understand the cost, the factors that make up the cost. And then if you become a member, what's next? Afrinic has been in operation since 2005. It is the 5th regional internet registry amongst the 5. We are serving 55 economies where we have at least 2,255 as of yesterday, resource members. Our service region consists of the mainland continent as well as the Indian Ocean region. All right, so as you may know, Afrinic's core activity is management and dedication of IP number resources. And I know most of us who are operating networks are familiar with IPv4. As we speak, not many have migrated or have deployed IPv6. And the most important thing to note is IPv4 is currently depleting. Afrinic currently has in its available pool only about 1.2 million IPv4 addresses. We still have another 1.1 million, which is reserved by a policy reserved for future use, but it may come into the available pool as soon as this particular 1.2 is exhausted. Additionally, we also have another pool of about 4 million, which has been reclaimed and yet to be put back into use. This is just a graph showing how the trend has been over the past 10 years. You can see that around 2015, we had about 60 million that was available. That's roughly 50% of our entire pool of IP addresses, which is of IPv4 addresses, which is about 121 million IP addresses. Now, looking at the depletion, you see that there was a quick, a speedier depletion in those years. That was just simply because most of the, at that time, we had a policy which members could ask for resources of any size up until early 2020, when a new policy came in and we can only issue a maximum of /22 at once. So that's why the depletion slowed down, but you see that there is still progress that we are going down towards the complete depletion of the IPv4. So that means while we're looking at IPv4 usage, we should also be thinking of IPv6 adoption in this region. On a global scale, Afrinic only has about the 1.2 million represents 0.08 of /8. Meanwhile, another region that has IPs is the Ethnic region, which has about 0.17. You will notice that the other 3 internet registries, regional internet registries, are completely depleted. They are at 0 at the moment. So that means the depletion is a reality. IPv4 is running out. And also for those who have not yet maybe requested from Afrinic, and you know you need to upgrade your networks, you need to run your networks better, it's important to make the consideration in due course. I'll briefly just have a highlight on Nigeria. So in Nigeria itself, we do have at least 252 resource members. These resource members have at least accessed 12,390 of /24s in IPv4, and also 97 prefixes of IPv6, and 256 autonomous system numbers. across Africa, this is the distribution of all the resources as we have issued per country. And with Nigeria, you see that it's accessing about 2.74 of the entire pool that we've dedicated, which is about 116 million IPs. And then you can see who are the biggest users and how the growth is. Now I'll move on to just discuss on what prompts this kind of discussion. Why do we need to come here? I think with the evolution of the internet and also the transformation in terms of digital transformation, things have really changed. In the past, most networks used to be just consumers of content on the internet. But with the digital transformation, you see that most networks now are also becoming content generators, content providers. If we look at entities like banks who have so many applications that are running and need to be consumed by their customers, government services, a lot of governments right now are digitalizing their platforms, their processes. This has completely changed the narrative. In the past, most networks could run behind a single IP using NAT. But now that becomes a problem when it comes to providing such services if you now tend to become a service provider yourself. So some of the challenges that you really come across would be if you are running behind an IP address given to you by an ISP, it would be hard for you to map home across multiple ISPs with that particular in that particular set. And also, even if you are in that kind of situation, assuming you're only having a smaller prefix, let's say /28, and you are running some of your services from there. When you want to migrate across multiple service providers, there is an amount of transition that you have to do. But if you have your own set of IPs from Afrinic, that transition becomes seamless. Difficulty to grow and also scaling your network. Sometimes you want to grow and you're relying on your IPs from your upstream. If your upstream is also running out of the set, it becomes a problem. Unless you get your prefix from Afrinic, Afrinic will give you prefixes that you can actually project the use for up to 8 months if it is IPv4 and 12 months for IPv6. So that gives you the room to plan and you can easily grow without challenges. And also the other challenge is that when you're using resources from a service provider, an upstream provider, is you don't have full control of the routing that is taking place. So that may become a challenge at some point. Some other concerns becomes concerns regarding security, where multiple devices are NATed behind a single public IP address. Any attack or any violating acts on the internet from at least one of those devices behind the single IP may affect the entire pool of the devices behind that particular single address. So it becomes that particular problem to even identify and root out that kind of problem. So that's another problem that is there. The other limitation is that now attaining some best practices like Internet Routing Registry, adoption of RPKI is not under your control. These are under the control of your ISP. So if your ISP don't choose to do those, then your network still remain exposed. What are the benefits if you choose to get your resources direct from Afrinic? First and foremost, once you become a member of Afrinic, you get access to the portal where you can easily manage your IP addresses. You can access the RPKI, that's the resource public key infrastructure, where you can secure your routing. You can also access Internet Routing Registry. You can be able to do reverse DNS delegation to your DNS servers if you are running mostly mail servers or any mail generating applications. There will also be the ability to use our DNSSEC for your reverse delegation zones. Another thing, as I said earlier on, now it will make you it will give you the ability to seamlessly multi-home across either upstreams or across even if we look at the two previous presentations, this is where it becomes now the enabler into your being able to join the IXP, so that at least you maintain your upstream or transit provider. On the other arm, you are able to connect to the IXP. Growth and scalability becomes easier. And also the control via your routing exchange, information exchanges with your BGP peers is under your control. So I think if we look at the presentation from Uche, he described how you can filter or what you can allow to come to be populated into your routing table, and how you can also share your routing information. So this is the kind of control that you gain by gaining your own set of prefixes. If you rely on the prefixes that have been given to you by an upstream, then you can't be in control. So how does Afrinic manage these resources? To begin with, there's a set of policies that guide how we manage the resources. So Afrinic staff do not just make these policies themselves. There is a process that I will show in the next slide. This IP resource management and Afrinic region are governed by a set of policies, and these policies are just the guidelines the internet community propose, deliberate, and adopts. Once they are adopted, Afrinic staff would implement, and now they become guidelines on how we evaluate requests from members. These policies, you can find them at the link in that QR code. It's consolidated in one policy manual. This is how the resource governance, the procedure works for the policy development. So it is driven by the community, and the community, people from the community, this is the African internet community, which is also made up of anybody with interest in the management of IP number resources and also in good governance. But in addition, it also includes members of resource members of Afrinic. So this policy, the community comes up with what we call the policy working group. And this policy working group is where these policies are proposed and discussed and adopted. They work in collaboration with two co-chairs who help facilitate and coordinate the activities of the working group. The co-chairs liaise with one or two staffs within as the discussion are happening, and also on the outcomes of those discussions. Once that is done, if a policy goes through, and the co-chairs will have to submit to the board of directors for ratification. Once that is done, the policy is now channeled to staff for implementation and adoption. So that's when it becomes in effect. Staff can now use it when conducting their day-to-day activities. Now, speaking of now membership, Afrinic as an organization have three different kinds of membership. We have the resource membership. Now, these are the members who come and request for IP number resources. We have the local internet registry type of members, and also the end site type of members. The other, despite accessing IP number resources from Afrinic, these members also have the right to vote for board members for the company. So these board members are what we call registered members. Once a board member is elected during the election, the board members election, they become part of the board. And then the next group is the associate member. Associate members could be anybody, governments, NGOs, and an individual with interest in the management and governance of IP number resources. Associate members are invited to the annual general meeting, but just in an observer capacity. Meanwhile, resource members are full participant of that particular annual general meetings. How do we define the two categories of the local internet registry and end users? So local internet registries are usually the service providers who have a set of end users that are giving a service to. It could be end users or it could be other downstream ISPs. Meanwhile, the end user customers are those that come to Afrinic and request for resources exclusively for them to operate their own networks. Simply, if we look at it, we look at financial institutions, academia, research institutions. These are not your typical ISPs or service providers. These are just entities, enterprises that are running different services on their network. So, to reiterate what my colleagues said earlier on, Afrinic, as we speak, the minimum IPv4 allocation or assignment we can give is a /24. I think that question was asked, why /24? And it has been addressed in the previous Q&A session. The maximum, this is based on the current policy in effect. The maximum we can give at once is a /22, but in case you reach 90% use of that /22, you can come back to request for more. So what do you need to understand before you even start initiating the application with Afrinic? There are certain elements that needs to be, that people need to know. First and foremost is the entity must be a legal entity based within the Afrinic service region. Additionally, you must also be originating your services within the Afrinic service region. This is based on the bylaw section, clause 6 of the Afrinic bylaw. We further publish the additional criteria on our website. So we encourage people to go and read the criteria, the eligibility criteria, so that when you come, you are fully aware and it makes the process go quicker. And also understanding of the policies that I've spoken, because if you come and you don't understand, you are not in a position to give the right information, hence the process may delay. Now, what are the information or the set of information that we require in order to assess or evaluate the compliance to those particular guidelines that I've just spoken about? So for eligibility, we require to have a copy of a company's founding or incorporation document. It could be a company registration document. There would be other entities like government institutions who perhaps were gazetted by the law. So those kind of documentation that would prove the legal existence of that particular entity is one key requirement. We also require a tax registration or tax compliance certificate, as well as evidence of physical location, because we want to understand and know who we are dealing with, and to also validate that they are really going concern in the particular economy that they are operating. The other most important thing is, as you intend to become a member of Afrinic, you need to sign the registration service agreement. This is the binding contract between Afrinic and its resource members. Additionally, you are required also to provide contact information. So at least you need to give details of some designated contacts that we can use. And also with those along should be the phone number and corporate email address. We also validate those particular contacts through checking the ID or passport copies of those particular designated contacts. This is just part of our KYC process to ensure that our members, we can be able to reach them when required, but also that they are really operators within the region. Besides those, we also have the technical requirements. These are driven by the policies. So for instance, for IPv4 and IPv6, we need a detailed addressing plan that demonstrates how you intend to use those particular IP addresses. For IPv4, you need to give us a projection of how many IPs you need within the next 8 months maximum. Well, for IPv6, you can project up to 12 months, but you have to keep in mind that the maximum we can issue is a /22. In addition, for IPv6, when you are requesting IPv6, you should also have intention to announce the v6 within 12 months. If you have a well-detailed network diagram, it also helps the process easier because it makes it quicker to understand how your usage is going to be. Additionally, we also look at, especially for the LIR, who are the service providers, if in the country you are operating in, the regulator requires you to have a service license. We also want to see that, but sometimes in case you don't have that, maybe you are, let's say, an X as a service operator where a service license is required in most countries, then you can show us that you have existing infrastructure in the region, as well as you have an agreement with a transit provider in the region to carry your traffic. For end users, you should be, in case you have a set of IPs from your upstream, you can show us the details of those, especially if it is a /25. That would help us to assess your needs. Or else you may also give us a detailed IP addressing plan demonstrating your immediate need of about 50% of what you need. So in case you need a /23, your detailed plan should show an immediate need of a /24 at least. In addition, we also need to know that you have the capability to transmit those set of IPs to the internet. So that is also checked through evidence that you have an existing agreement with either an upstream transit or even a peering peer, say at the IXP. Those are some of the considerations. So these are all driven by the policies. As you can see, those particular sections of the policy below. Technical requirements for autonomous system numbers. So autonomous system numbers, in order to request for one, you need to have at least more than one AS number that you can peer with, or show a unique routing policy different from your upstream provider. Secondly, is share a peering agreement or connectivity SLA. If you share that, it can replace the other part, because if it is a peering agreement, then it covers the unique routing policy. Afrinic, in case of the lack of any agreement, Afrinic shall contact BGP peers just to confirm the existence of any agreement or negotiations that are happening. Now, moving on to other considerations. So in the different categories of members that we have, the LI and EUs, sometimes we do get other entities like academia and research institutions that are purely non-profit. These ones, we provide 50% discount on their membership fee. Meanwhile, for critical infrastructure, such as the if you're operating one of the 13-node servers, or you are an IXP that is open to the public and also has an open peering policy that discourages bilateral peering, but rather opt for open peering. In those instances, we also provide 100% on all applicable fees. So what are the steps to initiate your membership? First and foremost, you need to go to that site, nmrp.afrinic.net, register, and then you can start your application, provide all the required information as I have described, and then sign the agreement and send it to us. Staff will assess the compliance with bylaws, policies, and the prevailing business rules. Once you're approved, an invoice will be raised. The invoice, you can opt at the beginning to say whether you want it to be in US dollars or euros, depending on your preference. The invoice is valid for 45 days, and you have an option of paying through wire transfer or credit card. Once the payment is received and the RSA is with us, you'll be issued the resources. And what's now, I'll look at the fee structure, having spoken about the invoice. We have different fee structure we have different fees categories for the LIRs and end users. Now, as you can see, this is the fees structure for LIRs. Now, the fee structure is a combination of 3 items. It's usually 2 to 3, depending on what you have requested for. If your request includes an AS number, then the fees would be would include the annual membership fee. The annual membership fee is prorated per quarter. So depending on the quarter which you become a member, that's how much you have to pay. While on the allocation fee, the allocation fee is not prorated, but it's one-off. So you only pay it on becoming members. After that, you only be paying the annual membership fee for the consecutive years. Similarly, for AS number, the AS number assignment fee is also one-off cost. End users, the contents are the same in terms of the factors or that make up the invoice. Same applies also for the membership fee. So you have annual membership fee and you have the assignment fee one-off, and also the AS number assignment fee one-off as well. Now, if you are IPv6, for IPv6, if you are getting IPv6 and you are also getting IPv4, there is no cost involved for IPv6. Meanwhile, if you become only an IPv6 member such that you are getting IPv6 only and AS number, then these are the fees that would apply. If you are getting a /32, it has this particular price. If you are getting a more than /32, there are also different prices. You can, while you are trying to assess how much or how many IP addresses you require, you can use the fees calculator that is on that link to be able to check how much it would cost. Once you become a member, now, so here we are done with the fee structure. And once you become a member, it's important that you validate the registered contacts just in case there are any changes. But also, we advise that you change the maintainer password as soon as possible. Additionally, we encourage members to adopt the additional services that we provide. That's Internet Routing Registry, RPKI, Reverse DNS, and all these additional services come at no extra cost. That brings me to the end of my presentation. If you have specific queries, you can direct them to this question. You want support for IRR, you can send it to that. So you can look at the particular type of information you may require. The team would be able to provide the required support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, James Chira from Afrinic, for giving us this elaborate and concise presentation that enables us understand how to join Afrinic and how to acquire the needed IP blocks, as well as the ASN numbers. We pray that also you have also showed us the fees, how much it costs to be able to register. So we have a couple of questions here on the Q&A box. So I'll read from top to bottom, and the questions are for you, James. So Ramon Bello is asking, as of today, how many IPv4 addresses can he apply for? How many can he apply for?
You can apply for, Ramon, Ramon, you can apply for minimum /24 maximum /22. So either
Okay.
/24, /23, /22.
He's
But
saying
it
how
has
many?
to be
Can
just
he
five.
apply for 2?
Oh, how
can
many?
he apply for 4? How many?
No. So /20. Okay, so minimum /24 is 256 IP addresses. Maximum, the /22 has 1024 IP addresses. So that's the maximum you can get.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is from Musa Traore. He says, hello, can we request for IPv6 block while the IPv4 IPs are still not all used or assigned? So what he's saying in essence is he has some IPv4 that he has not completely used up, and he wants to know if he can request for IPv6.
Yes. So Musa, sure, you can request IPv6 as long as whether you have used just part of your IPv4 or not. Remember, these two are not interoperable, but you have to run them in parallel. So one does not affect the other in terms of the when you are requesting.
Okay. Opeyemi Olasoji is asking, how can existing member of Afrinic get IPv6 block? I believe, Opeyemi, that was clearly stated by James already during his presentation. If you need any other specific answer to any question, you can also put it up. Thank you. And then George Cheng is asking, at what percentage of the current assigned address blocks is used up before one can apply for additional address block? So he's saying, what utilization percentage can he get to before he's able to apply for a new IP address block? And how is it that there's any requirement for him to prove the utilization before he applies for a new one? That's his question.
Yes, thank you for that. So George, to answer the first question, according to the current policy, you are supposed to have used at least 90% of what you've been allocated or assigned. Now, once you've used that, also the policy remains needs basis, but also we need to verify the usage. So yes, you need to demonstrate how you've used the previous prefix to 90%, and also give us the breakdown of how you intend to use the next set of resources that you are requesting for.
Okay, George also has another follow-up question, which is, some of our customers ask for large address assignments, example /26 or /27. So his question is there a maximum assignment window that we are only allowed to give out? Do we need to ask customer for their addressing plan to justify what they are asking?
Well, most definitely, if it is a bigger block, you need to understand why they need that, but we will not tell an operator a limitation, because it depends on the requirements of their customer. So their duty is to serve the customer. So depending on what the customer wants, and they have enough, I think it's all right as long as it is justifiable, as long as they are convinced enough that they have the particular need. They don't want to just give and somebody goes and stockpile. You need to give and have enough justification. Additionally, we also on the system allow people to register as sub-allocations, even for those bigger ones that needs more than a /24. If you are assuming you're saving a smaller ISP or downstream ISP and they need more than a /24, you can register as a sub-allocation, and that we also have to understand that, there is indeed justified needs. Otherwise, it may become challenging when you need additional resources and when we are evaluating.
Okay, due to lack of time, we might not be able to take many more questions. So We will attend to them individually, but we will have to move on to the next session. But before we let James go, one more last question is Ibrahim Kaute. He's saying we are already a member. Is there any fee to get global unicast prefix for IPv6?
No, if you recall one of my slides, there is no extra cost if you are already a member with IPv4. So
okay.
if you just give us why you need that, your requirements, and then you get the resources.
Okay, thank you so much, James, for answering all these elaborate questions. So we have to move ahead to the next panelist, and the next person is Emmanuel Oluwayemisi from IXPN. For other questions, please be rest assured we will attend to all of them. We will answer your individual questions. And if you need further clarification, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you so much. So Emmanuel Oluwayemisi from IXPN will be taking us on PeeringDB. Hello, Emmanuel. You have the floor. Welcome on board.
Thank you, David. Share my screen first. All right, I hope I'm presenting now.
Yes, we can see your presentation.
Good day, everyone. All right, we quickly want to look at the importance of PeeringDB and why you need to have an account on PeeringDB, why it is important to your business and to your operation as a network operator and as a content provider, or whatever type of services you're providing over the internet. All right. We'll be running through these few outlines. We'll to look at PeeringDB and run through the history of PeeringDB, what is PeeringDB itself, the mission, the governance, the membership, and the key benefits of PeeringDB and why it is necessary for your business to have a PeeringDB presence. All right. So we cannot discuss PeeringDB without knowing what peering is all about. Peering is the process of allowing data to traverse between networks, without the need to pass through the congested and expensive internet transit providers. And what brought about PeeringDB in the first place? It boils down to the question of knowing how people were able to find a peering partner in the early 2000s or beyond. So how do you think that network operators were able to find peering partners in the past? Okay. I know some of you will say through industry engagement and industry events, conference, of course, which is correct. And another means in the past is through the use of mailing lists. If you subscribe to certain mailing lists in the ICT industry, of course, you can be able to establish a conversation with an interested peering partner, and then be able to have a peer connection in the end. How about through direct contacts? In the past, people would have to travel to visit partner, internet network operators, and discuss the business benefits of why they need to peer. Okay. And Last and not the least, you might need to visit an IXP location to discuss your peering opportunities. So with all these aforementioned methods being used in the past, I'm sure that an inquisitive mind will be asking a question that there must be a problem with this previous method used to establish peering connection in the past. So what could that problem be? Or why do you see any form of problem with that particular method, right? Let's quickly run through this. For example, I just mentioned about true events and conferences. As we all know, people will have to travel around, unlike now. People will have to travel around back in the days to attend events and programs and conferences, which are not that seamless. This will entails a lot of securing visa application and a lot of funding and a lot of resources, which are cumbersome and which introduces a lot of drawbacks. So, which means this particular method actually does not promote the seamless peering opportunity. All right. We also mentioned direct connection, visiting your IX, visiting a valuable IX location for you to be able to establish your peering opportunity. And how about the IX that are not located very close to your location? Of course, even though you might not require visa processes to be able to make this type of move, but it comes with a transportation risk, and a lot of transportation stress and a lot more other resources also involve financial involvement, in all these processes. So all this, introduces a lot of setback and drawback that does not promote smooth peering opportunities. So finding the right partner for peering was not an easy, as there was no central repository of interconnected network information, to help network providers to discover and connect to each other. So a group of network engineers and operators, from different corners of the world, saw this as an opportunity, to embark on a mission to create a shared resources, or a shared resource that will make peering to be more seamless and be more efficient for everyone. And in 2004, Richard Steenberg, a network engineer at the Dutch ISP in Eurofiber, created PeeringDB to address this particular problem. And what is PeeringDB itself? Okay, having given this overview, I'm sure that by now you start to have the clear picture of what PeeringDB is all about. PeeringDB is a freely available user-maintained database of networks and carriers, and a go-to location for interconnection data for network operators and facility operators. So PeeringDB is an online database where, participating networks contribute information about their peering policies, traffic volume, presence, and various geographical locations. And not only that, it helps to facilitate a global interconnection of network at IXPs, data centers, and other interconnection facilities. It is the first stop point in making interconnection decisions. Okay. Although this PeeringDB was established to support the practical needs for operators, The data also provides a valuable source of information to researchers who need to, have a wide overview of interconnectivities and network peer information globally. So the mission of PeeringDB is to facilitate the exchange of user-maintained interconnection-related information, primarily for peering coordinators. The governance and membership of PeeringDB. PeeringDB is a United States volunteer organization that is 100% funded by sponsorship. And membership is by limited liability company, partnership, also another legal business entity may be a member of the corporation. Just something similar to the Afrinic. So membership is determined by having both an active account on PeeringDB.com, an account and an individual account representative, or a role subscription to the PeeringDB governance mailing list. So what are the key benefits of PeeringDB? It enhances network visibilities, accesses real-time information about network and their peering capabilities, becomes much visible. For example, for those, of course, I don't expect that maybe most of us here already are, though I overheard that some of us are already on, we already acquire our Afrinic resources, which means you have ASN and you also have IP resource. So if by now you have presence of PeeringDB, I'm sure that you are more visible beyond your geographical location. And a lot of other network operators can be able to discover much about your network, about your point of presence, about your the volume of your traffic, and where your services can be located for peering connection. So it enhances network visibility. So if you are not on PeeringDB right now, I think you need to be making the process of creating an account for your organization. So it simplifies our peering process. PeeringDB can simplify management of your network peering relationships. This saves you time and resources, and it can help you avoid errors. For example, at the ISPN, we utilize the PeeringDB resource during onboarding process of a new member. So with this, we're able to onboard seamlessly a lot of fields that are required to submit certain data to create account for you at the IS, will be seamlessly automated via PeeringDB. However, if your organization is not on PeeringDB, this will introduce a bit of complexity that we have to be doing sort of manual input, and then we will be doing some back and forth trying to find out some more information from your contact person before we can finish your onboarding process. Other advantage is that it improves network performance. How does this happen? PeeringDB helps you to find and connect to the networks that are well positioned to improve your network performance. So if you go on PeeringDB, you're looking for a certain, network operators. You want to see, okay, what type of what is their traffic volume or capacity, and where do they have presence, their reach. By the time you check them out on PeeringDB by entering their ASN number, the PeeringDB will pull out the details of that particular partner, and then you can be able to have a quick overview, which will help you to make the right decision to connect to the network that will be able to improve your own network performance. Because the essence of peering is for us to be able to, move traffic across network seamlessly, and also to avoid using costly transits. So as a network provider, PeeringDB makes it easy for other networks to find you. I think I just mentioned this, not quite long. And as a colocation provider, like a data center, it creates more visibility for you, and it helps you to attract other additional networks and other internet exchange points that will be interested at, establishing or having point of presence in your location. For example, some people were asking during this session presented by Uche that maybe they can have ISP in a certain location. Let's assume that those people already have their PeeringDB account, or let's assume that they have acquired their IP resource and their ASN from Afrinic. Then the next thing would be to create their PeeringDB account, or go on PeeringDB and search using ISBN, ASN. Then they'll be able to see the visibility of ISBN, the coverage, where we have presence, location, and at which data centers. Then this will help them to be able to make decisions without traveling around or without any more difficulties. So as an IXP, PeeringDB provides information about your participants, the colocation where your service is available. It provides user-friendly graphic user interface and a powerful API for automation, as I've mentioned earlier on. So the importance of PeeringDB information is that it contains peering location, the contact information for, the networks, that is for the network providers, for exchange points, and for the facilities, which are the data centers where you have point of presence. So a PeeringDB record makes it easy for people to be able to find you and to help you establish peering connection. So PeeringDB uses basic verification for the new account creation, okay? So when you are creating your account, or before you start creating your account, you have to take note that your information is valid on your WHOIS account. So make sure that you validate your WHOIS information, as this will be pulled during the validation for your registering request. So update and maintain your WHOIS information, and also register email, the email that is associated with your ASN when you apply for it from Afrinic. That same email, is very, very crucial to the registration that you want to carry out when you are creating an account on PeeringDB. So if you haven't registered on PeeringDB, you can quickly visit peeringdb.com/register and then proceed to creating your accounts, create account for your organization. And of course, this requires that you must acquire your Afrinic resources. So without that, you can't do this. So why should maybe my network facility be listed on PeeringDB? I think this question it can be self-answered. So it helps establish a new peering more efficiently with all information easy to find in one place. That is why we said it's a stopping point for interconnection of network operations. So find other networks, peering contacts, and their connection information very seamlessly by visiting PeeringDB, put in their ASN number, and query that. You can be able to find the contact information, the email addresses, and phone numbers, and various locations where they are present. All right. So PeeringDB record is required by many networks to peer. So this can be used for automation to generate router configurations, as I mentioned earlier on, or to initiate configuration to set up peering quickly. So, and among many other things. So global system statistics of PeeringDB as at a few minutes ago, there are about 1,132 exchanges connected over PeeringDB, on PeeringDB, 28,809 networks operators, and 5,251 network facilities, as data centers and pop locations, and also campuses, 35, 115 carrier providers, and also 51,351 connections to exchange points, and 46,717 connections to facilities, and 6,486 automated networks. and 50,766 registered users, as well as 26,827 registered organizations available on PeeringDB. So requirement to requesting PeeringDB account. One, you must have your ASN through the appropriate registry body like Afrinic, okay, or other approved authority by Afrinics that can assign ASN, okay. So ASN must not have been already used on PeeringDB. So if you have an ASN that's already been used on PeeringDB registered before, that cannot be reused to create a new account. Okay. So this means that all the private ASN listed in IANA autonomous AS numbers, all the bogus ASNs, these ones are not acceptable for creating a PeeringDB account. And this is a flowchart of your account request processes. At the time you open your browser, you enter PeeringDB.com, you click on register, and you start processing your information, you put your information. This information you supply will be validated. Check if your ASN is valid, of course. That is, if it is already being used on PeeringDB. If no, then you check the PeeringDB to see if your ASN is already in use. So if it's not in use, you proceed to the next stage by verifying your, ASN validity with Afrinics and others. And having validated that, of course, your account registration process will be completed. But if by any means your ASN, the supplied ASN, is not valid, or the email address you also enter is not the same as what you use to request Afrinic resources, then there will be a problem. So this might delay your registration, or it might result in your registration being filtered out for processing. So this is crucial for you requesting or creating an account on PeeringDB. All right. I think I'm processing that too. Sorry. Okay, so this is a quick overview of your registration processes. You can visit PeeringDB.com and click on register, that you can see it on the screen. Then you begin to enter your information as required, your email address, which must be the same with what you used to request for your Afrinic resources, okay? And choosing the appropriate language and your email address being confirmed, password creation. Of course, your password must have at least 10 characters minimum. Then you proceed to, edit the organization's details. And this will give you the enablement to be able to provide more information about your organization, okay? Where you can provide the URL for your organization and the organization address, and also add any notes that you wanted to add, and as well proceed to, entering your network information. You can see that below under the network section. You click that to supply details of your network information. And this is where you'll be able to supply your ASN details, your IPv4, IPv6 prefixes as required, and so on and so forth. So also you'll be able to provide your IRR record if you have one. And if you have looking glass as well, you provide the detail of the looking glass. And then you save your configuration and move on to the next stage. So you update your peering location. That is under PeeringDB configuration. you will see allow IXP updates. So here you can provide the facility or the IXP where you are connected. Then you can supply your contact information, and then you'll be able to validate all the information you have provided. Then having run through and cross-check that everything is good, then you can proceed and save your configuration, save your settings. Then you can add the exchange point, the pairing location, the data center, where you are connected to that exchange point, and any other information that's required. So this is just to quickly guide you through or show you the screen, so that you're familiar with what to see by the time you are creating your PeeringDB account. All right. So for user administration, you need to create an administrator account. This is the person who will be responsible for managing your PeeringDB account. So you create that account, provide appropriate credentials, email, and password, and all that. And as well, you can also remove users, okay? So maybe you no longer have certain users having access to your organization's information on PeeringDB. You can as well remove the users. You have the features under the organization page. So when you scroll down under the users tab, you can see remove user accounts and all that. So for any other information, maybe for any difficulties or for any issue, you can send an email to support@peeringdb.com. And also maybe you can forward an email to knock@ispn.net.ng. If you are setting up your account and you're having any challenge, please kindly send an email to us, and we'll be able to get in touch with you and help you to complete your registration processes seamlessly. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for staying on the call. I hope all that we have shared with you today has been very informative, and that most of us have been able to learn one or two new knowledge and information that we will take home. Thank you so much for staying in touch with us. This will be the last presentation for today. If there's any questions whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to us at knock@isp.net.ng. That's for IXPN. For James, if you have any Afrinic related questions, please direct it to James Chirwa@afrinic.net. His email address is also pasted on the chat box. And while you do that, you also copy hostmaster@afrinic.net. Thank you so much for this session. It's been very, very good and pleasant. Thank you all for joining despite your busy schedules. We appreciate you all, and we will close this session. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Signing out. My name is David Ezania from Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. Thank you all. Thank you all. See you all there in some other time.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Bye.